Hello and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren and today I'm going to be learning something that I have often wondered, and that is, why is North up? I know we're on a globe, but sometimes the North Pole is, not straight up. So I guess it's not something that I've actively wondered very much, but definitely when I was learning about maps and map making and compass roses and all of that, and whenever I look at a map on my phone and it flips things sideways for me just to make it extra complicated. Look, I'm terrible at maps and directions, but I'm curious to find out why North is up. Because I guess we do that too. It's North is up, South, West, East, right? You flip that and reverse it, I suppose, for this purpose. But, we do consider North being just upwards. So I'm curious to find out what, I think why Jay Foreman is going to tell me why North is up. I'm excited. Let's go.
North,
Up,
west,
left,
east,
right,
southwest.
downy left.
How did we end up thinking like this?
Welcome to Map Men.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
Map men, map men, map men.
Hello, all maps need a top and a bottom.
Although it's theoretically possible to have a map where words are written in multiple directions, maps that tried this fell out of favour very quickly because they were horrible to use.
Luckily, almost all maps today orientate the world the exact same way, with North at the top. Examples include OS Maps, Google Maps, and this map of all the motorways in Rutland.
North as up is such an ingrained idea that not even J.R.R. Tolkien, creator of Hobbits and Balrogs, could imagine an alternative orientation for Middle-earth. So how did it end up being North? And has it always been this way?
We're about
I'm just suddenly reminded of that bit from episode 1 of series 1 of Doctor Who from the 2005 version, where Rose tells the Doctor that he sounds like he's from the north, and he goes, lots of planets have a north, implying that several don't, which I haven't thought about that in a while.
to tell you, and no.
It turns out the majority of ancient cultures had a 90-degree different view of the world from the one we have today. On their maps, the direction most often facing top was east.
The reason for this is down to our hot friend, the sun. The sun rose in the east, and because people liked the sun and were happy when it appeared, east became the most important direction.
Oh, there it is, that's a relief.
Incidentally, orientated means east at the top, hence orient. Most European maps had east at the top until well into the 15th century. South was second most important because of all the sunshine, then west, where the sun set, with north actually considered the least significant direction, because it was the darkest and generally associated with evil.
To give you an idea of just how North
It was associated with, darkness is associated with evil, so North was associated with evil. Interesting. Heretic Keith.
hating early Christians were, graves facing northwards were reserved only for excommunicants and the unbaptized.
Excuse me, I did request to be buried next to my dead wife.
In other parts of the world, we get clues that east was on top, even though no maps survive to prove it. In India, the Sanskrit word dakshina means both south as well as to the right, and if south was to the right, then east must have been at the top.
And west must have been on the bottom.
Yes.
And north must have been
I think we get it.
But the most famous early civilization saw the world another yet 90 degrees differently.
The ancient Egyptians put south at the top of their maps, for the simple reason that because the Nile flowed downhill, its source must surely be at the top.
Makes sense. It also explains why it's called Lower Egypt, despite being further north. South at the top soon became an Arab map
I didn't even know that was a thing, that it was called Lower Egypt.
making calling card, as shown on the famous world map made by Muslim scholar Al-Idrisi for King Roger II of Sicily, called Tabula Rogeriana,
Roger's map.
which featured in the seminal book Kitab Rujar.
Roger's book.
So, with all this eastness and southness throughout history, how did we end up with the ever unpopular north literally on top of the world?
The change in direction occurred at the Age of Exploration.
In the 1400s, wealthy European nations literally started to push the boat out in search of exciting things to steal, like gold and potatoes. In order to do this successfully, navigation needed to get better, and that meant the very frequent use of the compass.
By harnessing the Earth's natural magnetic field, compasses were a superbly useful way of letting sailors know where they were going.
The original inventors of the compass, the Chinese, decided that this thing pointed south, which in fairness half of it did. That explains why the Chinese word for compass was
指南针
which translates to pointing south needle.
I love that he didn't even try to say it.
But Western explorers saw things differently. In Europe, there was
Of course they did. Of course they did. Are we surprised?
already a long tradition of navigating by the North Star, giving European navigators an astrological northern bias. So, when they got their hands on the Chinese pointing technology, they used it to do what they'd always done, and find north first.
If you've ever used a compass on a Year 5 geography trip where you got lost in the woods and wet yourself in front of Mr. Dugdale, you'll understand how north being at the top of your map makes it easier to turn and face where your compass is pointing.
This navigational edge allowed Europeans to spread themselves and their ideas, including north is up, all over the world. And after centuries of standardisation, north is up became stuck in the maps and the minds of people all over the planet.
So now, north is literally always up all the time on every map ever with no exceptions.
Except these ones coming after the break.
Hello and welcome to Good Grief. Now Cyril, is it true you haven't seen your father in 66 years?
Yes, it's true.
Well Cyril, good grief, he's here tonight!
Cyril, good grief! Son! Father, where have you been? Well, son, you know all those websites that offer a service but suspiciously don't charge anything for it?
Yes, Father.
You know they make their money by taking your data and selling it on to data brokers, leaving you at risk of data breaches and identity theft?
Yes, Father.
Well, that's where I've been, son. I've finally contacted every single broker one at a time and asked them to delete my data. It took me 66 years, but I'm back, son, and I'm ready to give you a right good fathering. Oh, Father, I forgive you. Come give me a right good fathering.
Good grief, why didn't you just use Incogni?
Incogni?
You know, Incogni, the automated service that searches for data brokers and contacts them on your behalf with a legal demand to delete your personal data from their databases, keeping you regularly updated and keeping your identity safe online. Simply sign up by clicking the link in the description below, and the first 100 people to use the code MAPMEN will get a 60% discount off Incogni.
How dare you ruin this tender moment with my son?
Well, it's not my fault he didn't use Incogni. Good grief.
Good grief, stop talking about Incogni!
It's my show.
Well, he's my father. No, you're my father. Good grief.
You know, you could still have done some fathering at the weekends.
I can't believe I
Come
can't
on my
use
show and you
that.
start
Look,
ruining
please
it by
do
saying
it.
that I ruined it.
Incogni. It'll ruin the reunion with your son.
All right. I liked that ad. It was fun. I'm a little too late to get the Incogni thing with the discount, but sounds like a worthwhile thing.
Exceptions to north being at the top do sometimes appear on modern maps, in just a small handful of examples.
Some cities arranged in a grid form are frequently shown on maps with north on the one to suit the folded paper it's on and allow for better legibility. Manhattan is a fantastic example of this, creating a false north in the minds of locals and tourists. A similar effect can be found on maps of Melbourne, Mexico City and Milton Keynes.
The increasing
I have heard of Milton Keynes. It's a wild place.
Prevalence of Wayfinder or You Are Here maps in cities is popularising this easy to navigate kind of map, where up is the direction you're facing and not necessarily north.
Which is nice. Like, and that's what like messes me up on like a Google map or whatever if I'm like trying to just find where I am, because it's like I kind of am expecting, I think my brain is still expecting north to be a specific way, and because I live in a place where there is a very, very easy way to sort of orient yourself, in that, you know, the lake is to the east almost exclusively. Like it's almost always east. So it's like you can pretty much always figure out where north is. But if you're looking at the map and you know the direction where east is, you know where the lake is, so you know which direction is east, like trying to like find where you're going it's like I feel like I'm going backwards sometimes. It's like I know I'm supposed to go north, but now I have to turn around, so I gotta get that sort of mentality fixed.
Which is a pity for those of us who are taught to always find north first, like this. Also, sat-navs. Modern digital maps can be rotated to face whichever way is most convenient or safe for the user, resulting in a generation of whippersnappers who bizarrely are very familiar with their local area, but entirely unfamiliar with which way is north.
But all these exceptions only do a great job of proving the rule, as maps that are even slightly wonky just look disconcertingly unfamiliar and wrong. Oh.
But
Does it matter that north won the day? After all, something has to go at the top. Why shouldn't it be north?
The thing is, it does matter. It affects not just the way you view the map, but the way you view the world.
First of all, top to bottom is how we read things and naturally take information in. Whether it's a map or an album cover or a supermarket shelf, your eyes start at the top and then scan down. And this is well known and exploited by designers of all kinds.
Second, and more importantly,
It's like the Z, the rule of Z or something. It's like there's rule of thirds and then there's like the Z formation. So you always want to put, like for an American or like a Western audience, you want to put, I think in the top, like left, no, in the top, yeah, in the top left corner is where you start because we read left to right. So you put in the top left and then you go there and then you put the main focus in the middle. And then your eye follows it down, and then whatever the last part of information, you put it in the right corner, the bottom right corner. So that way you get if we do look at that that image.
To go at the top, why shouldn't it be north?
the thing is, it does matter. It affects not just the way you view the map, but the way you view the world.
First of all, top to bottom is how we read things and naturally take information in. Whether it's a map or an album cover or a supermarket shelf, your eyes start at the top and then scan down. And this is well known.
So like they would have, like in the top left, you have new, and then the actual main thing is the beef butter. And then it goes, I appreciate this ad, the beef butter. And your eye naturally follows it down, and then like it follows it down to this like horrible photo of spreading the beef butter and the cow over at the left. And then the information here at the bottom. So your eye naturally follows a sort of Z formation.
And exploited by designers of all kinds.
Second, and more importantly of all, psychologists have proven that we associate things that are higher up with positivity.
Hi, top of the morning.
Are you feeling tip-top?
On top of the world.
Did you watch Top of the Pops?
I watched it on my laptop.
That one doesn't work.
Oh.
So if all maps have north as up, we accidentally give places in the north a sense of importance and goodness.
While places in the south might be viewed with a form of second bestness. This applies not just to maps of the world, where Africa and South America are buried at the bottom of the page, and your thoughts, but to maps of London, which for a chippy South London dweller like me immediately explains the unbearable snobbery of North London dwellers like Jay.
You don't have to choose.
It's because of the rock type.
Thankfully, the overwhelming prevalence of north at the top maps has irritated some people enough to inspire them to create some different maps that turn our worldview upside down. In 1979, Australian Stuart MacArthur published MacArthur's Universal Corrective Map of the World. Simply by flipping the
universal corrective map of the world.
familiar map on its head, whilst keeping the letters the right way up, it placed Australia, usually tucked down under in the bottom corner, proudly at the top.
Although, just because it was upside down, it was no excuse for drawing Europe's borders apparently from memory.
Reorientating the world to give an original perspective is often done as a political statement, such as in this series of maps of Africa by Swedish non-African Nikolai Jesper Sion. His aim was to show the continent from a different perspective, such as this one that imagines borders if colonialism hadn't happened. And for maximum mind mashing, he made all his maps upside down.
One of the most influential wrong way up representations of the world came in 1972 in the form of not a map, but a photo. On the Apollo 17 mission, one of Gene Cernan, Ronald Evans or Harrison Schmitt took a stunning snap of the Earth viewed from space, and when he finally got back in signal range, sent it back to his pals at NASA for them to share with the world. Wow.
The now famous photo, titled Blue Marble, appeared to show planet Earth the wrong way up, with Antarctica on top.
But of course, this photo made us see the world as it actually was, a tiny ball floating in space. Suddenly, the whole idea of a top and bottom began to unravel, and there was chaos in the streets.
Sadly, by far the most frequently distributed
I mean, she was riding her bike without her helmet on. How chaotic.
version of the Blue Marble photo has been cropped and rotated with North boringly at the top, demonstrating just how fixated on North's upness we all remain.
Let's face it, with no gravity, there's actually nothing to anchor us in the infinite expanse of space. Anywhere can be up,
And anywhere can be down. It's a shame that we've got into the habit of always looking at the world the same way. Looking at a so-called wrong way up map can make you see things you've been trained all your life not to notice and expand your mind. Look at this map of Britain.
I will say that kind of thing is often true for almost anything. So it's like that's why they'll tell you to do a word search by flipping something upside down if you're just not seeing it. Because like getting a new perspective on it really does help. And there's several puzzles that like brain teaser puzzles that are much easier to solve if you just turn it upside down and then you just get a new perspective on it.
Until you looked at it upside down, did you notice quite how far Cornwall was from London? Or that Edinburgh was west of Manchester?
Wonky maps can be a good way for city planners to spot areas that need attention, or missing transport links. And that's why it's important to question hard and fast rules like north always being up, because when you look at the world from a different angle, you invite new perspectives.
You've been watching Map Men, and for now, North is up.
All right, that was cool. I enjoyed that video. I feel like I actually learned something, which I don't always feel. That was fun. Okay. Well, I enjoyed that. So if you want me to watch more of Map Men, please do let me know. That sounds really fun. I would love to watch more from them. So I hope you want me to, because that was enjoyable for me, and I liked learning something. I'm always looking for new channels, new things to like look into. So keep passing that information on to me, and I will continue to watch the things that people ask. Thanks again for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe. Again, the more people who like the video, the more we know that you actually appreciated it. I understand not everyone wants to leave a comment. It's pretty easy just to hit the like button. And I'll keep looking into this channel. Thanks again. I will see you in the next one. Until then.